Investors are shifting away from US stocks to international markets, particularly Europe, due to high valuations and geopolitical concerns. Germany's DAX index has surged nearly 15% this year, driven by a 1 trillion euro government investments, especially in defense. Traders like Leah Holmgren believe European stocks were undervalued but are now gaining momentum due to economic and policy shifts. Some investors fear US economic instability, including inflation and declining consumer confidence, prompting them to diversify globally. While many still trust in the strengths of American companies, others see opportunities in cheaper, growing global markets. Argentina's 100-year bond, mocked in 2017 due to the country's history of defaults, initially failed when Argentina defaulted just 3 years later. Despite this, investors who held on profited due to high coupon payments and restructuring, outperforming U.S. Treasuries. President Javier Milei's drastic spending cuts helped stabilize the economy and contributed to the bond's recovery. The case underscores key investment lessons. High-risk assets can be rewarding. Even safe investments carry hidden risks, and political change is unpredictable. Argentina's story serves as a reminder that even developed nations aren't immune to financial instability and potential bond market shocks. Young savers are increasingly opening Roth IRAs to benefit from tax-free growth and flexible withdrawals, especially as tax day approaches. Roth IRAs are appealing because they allow tax-free withdrawals in retirement and do not require mandatory distributions like traditional IRAs. Many young professionals like Maria Kiraskopoulos are contributing to Roth IRAs alongside workplace retirement plans to maximize their savings. Financial technology firms such as Robinhood are attracting young investors by offering incentives like contribution matches for IRA accounts. While Roth IRAs provide long-term tax advantages, savers must navigate income limits, contribution rules, and investment choices. Unlike 401ks, Roth IRAs require individuals to actively set up and maintain contributions, but they offer greater flexibility in accessing funds if needed. Hundreds of FBI employees are reviewing Jeffrey Epstein-related documents with limited redactions, raising concerns about exposing sensitive information on victims and witnesses. Attorney General Pam Bondi ordered the review after an initial release of documents in February was criticized for lacking new revelations. FBI Director Kash Patel has committed to full transparency, pulling agents from other duties to work long shifts reviewing thousands of pages of documents. Reviewers are instructed to redact only victim names and personal details while leaving most other information visible, potentially exposing witnesses and other individuals. Critics argue that the process deviates from normal procedures meant to protect sensitive information, and some fear victims could still be identified. Epstein continued his abuse until his 2019 arrest, and much of the material under review was previously examined in the prosecution of Ghislaine Maxwell, who was convicted in 2022. Critic Dan Neal purchased a used 2022 Tesla Model 3 before potential EV tax credit eliminations and tariff increases. Despite Tesla's performance, safety, and value, public sentiment turned against the brand due to Elon Musk's alliance with the Trump administration. Tesla owners, including Neal's peers, expressed feelings of betrayal, with some refusing to buy another Tesla while struggling to part with their current ones. Tesla sales have plummeted globally, particularly in Germany, China, Australia, and California, as Musk's political stance alienates former supporters. Neal acknowledges the backlash but stands by his decision, emphasizing the economic and environmental benefits of his Model 3. He argues that Tesla's mission to eliminate fossil fuels remains valid, regardless of Musk's controversial actions. Investors are reevaluating their strategies amid stock market turbulence and recession fears, with some shifting to safer assets like treasuries and metals. Aaron Hilton, a military officer, is increasing his stock investments despite market declines, confident in long-term gains. Andrew Goda moved his portfolio heavily into gold, silver, and international markets, doubting the sustainability of U.S. stock market growth. Retired physician Vijay Gandevia remains invested in index funds, believing market volatility does not equate to real risk. Portfolio manager Catherine Fadis shifted 20% of her stock holdings into short-term treasuries as a protective measure against economic uncertainty. Chris Woolman sees the downturns as a buying opportunity, investing significantly in index funds while maintaining confidence in economic resilience.
2020년 위스콘신 조선소가 미 해군의 새로운 프리게이트 건조 계약을 따냈지만 잦은 설계 변경으로 인해 USS 컨스텔레이션의 생산이 수년 지연되고 예산도 초과되었습니다. 원래 이탈리아 핀칸티에리의 기존 설계를 기반으로 신속히 건조될 예정이었으나 선체 연장, 프로펠러 변경 등 미 해군의 요구로 인해 공사가 늦어졌습니다. 현재 건조율은 10%에 불과하며 완공까지 총 9년이 걸릴 것으로 예상되며 이는 원래 예상보다 2배 이상 긴 기간입니다. 미 해군의 조선 산업은 중국과 유럽보다 생산 속도가 느리고 비용이 높아 미군 함정을 구매하려는 국가가 거의 없는 실정입니다. 트럼프 대통령은 미국 조선산업 활성화를 위해 조선청 신설 및 중국의 조선업 지배력 축소를 목표로 한 행정명령을 준비하고 있습니다. 해군의 설계 요구 사항과 조선소에 낙후된 장비, 인력 부족 문제가 복합적으로 작용해 미국의 전투함 생산이 경쟁국들보다 뒤처지고 있습니다. Tesla and other global automakers face challenges due to protectionism and differing electric vehicle adoption rates across regions. Regional players, which focus on localized supply chains and partnerships, may have an advantage over sprawling global brands like Stellantis. Tesla's global ambitions resemble Ford's early expansion, but face setbacks, including a significant stock decline due to Elon Musk's political controversies. Protectionist policies, particularly in China, and varying EV adoption rates across countries make it difficult for manufacturers to maintain a global strategy. While Toyota and Volkswagen have managed some level of global success through shared platforms, no company has mastered the truly universal auto empire. Investors once expected electrification to create dominant global players, but instead, market conditions increasingly favor regionalized auto manufacturers. Many Americans support federal worker layoffs, seeing the government as bloated and inefficient. Some view federal employees as having job security and benefits that are rare in the private sector. Public trust in government has declined, with Republicans more likely to favor downsizing. Polls show mixed reactions to the layoffs, with some believing they cut waste and others fearing service disruptions. Some laid-off workers feel unfairly targeted, while others see the cuts as necessary for efficiency. Despite job losses, public satisfaction with government services has recently improved. President Trump stated that Elon Musk would not receive a classified Pentagon briefing on potential war plans with China due to Musk's business ties to Beijing. Trump classified that Musk's visit to the Defense Department was in his role overseeing government efficiency and not related to China war plans. Although Musk was initially set to receive a top-secret briefing, officials later confirmed he would only attend an unclassified meeting. Musk's involvement in national security discussions raises concerns due to his leadership of Tesla, which relies on China, and SpaceX, a key U.S. defense contractor. Musk has expressed pro-China sentiments in the past, leading to speculation that Beijing sees him as a potential conduit to Trump. U.S. officials warned that China's increasing military threats toward Taiwan could lead to a regional conflict, potentially involving the U.S. by 2027. The Federal Reserve is slowing the reduction of its $6.8 trillion asset portfolio to prevent market disruptions. A similar balance sheet runoff in 2019 led to funding market strains, which the Fed wants to avoid. The upcoming need to raise the federal debt ceiling complicates the Fed's strategy as it affects banking system reserves. Starting in April, the Fed will reduce its monthly Treasury runoff to $5 billion to maintain its stability. This adjustment is a short-term measure to avoid draining too many reserves too quickly while staying committed to reducing its balance sheet. Attorney General Pam Bondi has announced a federal crackdown on attack against Tesla, labeling them as domestic terrorism due to their political motivation. Recent incidents include arson, gunfire, and explosive attacks targeting Tesla dealerships, charging stations, and vehicles allegedly linked to Elon Musk's cost-cutting initiatives. Federal prosecutors have already charged individuals in multiple states with investigations expanding nationwide. While legal experts agree the attacks could fit the definition of domestic terrorism, some view Bondi's aggressive stance as politically motivated. The Justice Department is exploring broader investigative powers to target possible organized efforts behind these crimes. However, initial findings suggest the perpetrators are mostly lone actors rather than members of a coordinated extremist group. The Federal Reserve's latest projections highlight the economic impact of President Trump's tariff policies, leading to higher inflation, weaker growth, and increased unemployment. Initially, the Fed planned to gradually cut rates in 2025, but now tariffs are expected to drive prices up while discouraging investment and economic sentiment. Fed Chair Jerome Powell acknowledged inflation from tariffs but emphasized that underlying inflation had been stable before their implementation. While the Fed held interest rates steady, concerns over stagflation, stagnant growth with rising prices have emerged. Trump urged the Fed to lower borrowing costs, but officials remain cautious due to economic uncertainty. Analysts warned that the Fed's response to tariffs could echo past policy missteps, balancing inflation risks with potential economic downturns. The Federal Reserve is expected to hold interest rates steady, but its strategy is shifting due to rising inflation risks linked to potential trade wars. While officials initially anticipated 1 or 2 rate cuts this year, the likelihood of sweeping tariff increases has made economic forecasting more uncertain. Tariffs could drive inflation higher while slowing economic growth, putting the Fed in a difficult position between tightening and loosening policy. Consumer sentiment has weakened, and past rate hikes continue to impact industries like manufacturing and housing. The Fed has prior experience with trade-related rate adjustments, but now faces higher inflation than in previous tariff episodes. Given the uncertainty,
officials are likely to take a cautious approach and monitor economic conditions before making further decisions. The Trump administration released over 30,000 pages of previously classified documents related to John F. Kennedy's assassination, with more expected to follow. Trump had promised to disclose these files, and officials worked overnight to review them before the release. The Warren Commission concluded in 1964 that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone, but withheld CIA operations have fueled conspiracy theories. The newly released documents cover topics like Oswald's travel, CIA activities, and Cold War espionage. Some reveal how intelligence agencies monitored Oswald before the assassination, but failed to act on warning signs. While no major revelations are expected, the files may shed light on whether Cuba or the Soviet Union had prior knowledge of Oswald's plans. The Democratic Republic of Congo's president has proposed a deal to U.S. President Donald Trump, offering access to critical minerals in exchange for military assistance against the M23 rebel group. The proposal highlights the strategic advantage of securing minerals like cobalt, lithium, and copper for American tech firms. Concurrently, Trump ally Erik Prince is in discussions to help the Congolese government manage mining revenue and combat fiscal evasion. Rwanda, accused of backing M23, denies involvement, despite UN reports suggesting otherwise. The proposal aligns with Trump's foreign policy focus on securing natural resources for American businesses. Negotiations continue as the Congolese government seeks to stabilize its mining sector amid ongoing conflict. Russian President Putin agreed to a temporary ceasefire in Ukraine's energy infrastructure after a call with U.S. President Donald Trump. The ceasefire, lasting 30 days, marks Trump's first diplomatic success in negotiations with Russia. Further discussions on a broader peace deal and maritime ceasefire in the Black Sea will take place in the Middle East. Russia is demanding additional concessions from Ukraine, including stopping military rearmament and mobilization. A prisoner exchange of 175 detainees from each side is scheduled for Wednesday. Ukrainian President Zelensky has not yet responded, but previously urged the U.S. to be cautious with Putin. President Trump has declared that former President Biden's pardons are void, arguing they were improperly signed, a move with little legal precedent. His administration has also defied court orders by continuing deportations of alleged Venezuelan gang members, asserting executive power over judicial rulings. Trump is pushing for broad executive authority, including sanctioning lawyers linked to his legal opponents and challenging birthright citizenship laws. His administration's unilateral actions are expected to face legal battles that could reach the Supreme Court. The moves have sparked controversy, with Republicans largely supporting Trump and Democrats warning of constitutional overreach. The Trump administration is debating how to implement a plan to equalize U.S. tariffs with those of other countries. A proposal to simplify tariffs by categorizing countries into 3 tiers was considered but ultimately rejected in favor of individualized rates. The administration is working on finalizing the details, with an official announcement expected on April 2nd. Trump remains committed to imposing a 25% tariff on autos from Mexico and Canada, despite earlier exemptions. Officials are weighing how to implement the reciprocal tariff system without overburdening the U.S. Trade Representative's office. The salary advantage of switching jobs has diminished, with job switchers now earning only slightly more than those who stay in their roles. Wage growth has slowed across industries, particularly in tech, where some professionals are seeing salary reductions of $10,000 to $40,000. Employers are offering lower than expected salaries, and workers who received pay increases during the pandemic are finding it difficult to secure higher paying positions. Many job seekers struggle with rigid salary offers and employers seeking perfect candidates. Fewer people are quitting their jobs due to economic uncertainty and shrinking wage increases. However, the finance sector remains a bright spot, with banks offering competitive salaries for experienced professionals. The U.S. faces a housing shortage, particularly in metro areas, prompting Trump to propose using federal land for new housing. A task force led by the Interior Department and HUD will identify suitable land for transfer or lease, mainly in western states like Nevada, Utah, and California. If successful, the plan could add millions of homes but faces obstacles like zoning laws, infrastructure, and environmental concerns. Only 7.3% of federal land is in high-need metro areas, making strategic site selection crucial. Local resistance, logistical challenges, and regulatory hurdles may slow progress. While past administrations have attempted similar efforts, success will require strong coordination across federal, state, and local governments. Investor confidence heading into 2025 was unusually high, which historically signals weaker future stock market returns. A 1999 survey showed investors expected unrealistically high annual returns, but the actual performance was negative over the following decade. Research indicates that lower investor sentiment tends to predict stronger future returns, while excessive optimism correlates with weaker performance. In 2024, investor confidence was among the highest on record, and past trends suggest this could lead to disappointing market returns in 2025. Surveys from Vanguard and Goldman Sachs revealed extreme optimism about U.S. stocks, yet non-U.S. markets have outperformed early in the year. Ultimately, excessive confidence can act as a warning sign, as investors tend to overestimate future returns based on past performance.